eliminating write-offs once and for all. Most firms who join Coaching Club have write-offs. Very few do not have write-offs and have write-ons. What are they? Think about what write-offs are. You haven't priced the job up front. You've spent the time taken on the job. There's been a blowout in time, and it gets to the end of the job, and as the client manager or the partner, you say, that's taken too long. The client will never wear that. They won't pay that. And you discount it by 10% or 15, 8, 12, whatever it is, you write some off because you believe the client won't pay it. How do you know? How do you know they won't pay it? And this problem is endemic in the accounting profession. By the way, while ever you price in arrears, you will always get write-offs. If your business model is time taken times charge rate, what pops out the end is the price, which is really poor and bad way to do business, but let's say it is. If your business is time and rate to get price, then you will always get write-offs. Here's why. Your business model says time taken times rate. You're assuming time taken is correct, rate per hour is correct, therefore price is correct. If you send it through the system and you say that's worth more than that, and you mark it up at the end, and so consequently you said, oh, they've been really efficient, but you didn't engage the client on the price, then to me that's a highly unethical behavior because you're going completely against your business model. Here's an example. I know of a firm on the Gold Coast that did exactly that. And the job came out the system at $2,000. They said, that's worth more than that. I'm going to charge $7,000. And so what happened was the client wasn't happy with this because they weren't engaged at $7,000. The client took the accounting firm to court. The client interviewed some other firms on the coast, and what happened was they said about $2,000. So consequently, that particular firm had to pay up. They had to produce their time ledger to the court. Of course, what did it say? $2,000. That particular firm from that day told me, we will never, ever not price a job up front again. I walked into a firm in Melbourne once. Classic. We always get the numbers before we walk in the firm. 6 partners. Fees charged to WIP, $9.6 million. Fees written off, $2.7 million. Gross fees, say $7 million. 26% written off. I said, fellas, these are pretty impressive write-offs. They said, yes, we know. I said, you guys are really good at this. Yes, we know, Rob. I said, by any chance do you budget for write-offs? Yes, we do. I said, what's your budgeted number? They said 25%. I said, well, you nearly hit it. They expected to fail before they start. You know, some firms are writing off. I was working with a firm in Adelaide just the other week, and they had $1.1 million in write-offs. So to make the point, I went onto realestate.com.au and found a house in the suburban Adelaide area for $1.1 million. Put on the screen. I said, your write-offs are $1.1 million. That's about the price of this house. I hit the clicker and the house burnt in flames. I said, you're basically burning a house every single year. You'd have more fun with some beer, some wine, some cheese and bickies out the front as you torch your house rather than burning up all this money. Some of you are burning houses every year. Some of you are burning apartments. Some are burning luxury cars, motorcycles and scooters, whatever. You're tearing this up. You're burning it. You're destroying your team morale. Write-offs are negative. They even have a negative in front, brackets around them, or in red. It's bizarre. Firms expect to get them. If you don't expect to get them, maybe you'll start to get write-ons. But there are some tactics, some strategies. Let me give you the summary of how you eliminate write-offs forever. It is this simple. You price the job up front based on a value-based fee or a fair fee that you think that thing's worth. You have an hour's budget on the job, no more than, for the person doing the job. You monitor the results of that and you drive the time down. Let's say you price the job at $5,000. You may still have charge rates. Eventually we advise you to get rid of those. You price the job at $5,000. You have, let's say, a 15 hours budget on the job, and the team come in at 16. So your average hourly rate pops out at, say, what's that, $330 or whatever. But the charge rate average is only $200. You take the write-up every day. Time on clock was $3,200. The Price you sold it at was $5,000, you take the write-up of $1,800. But you can only do that if you've priced up front and the client's agreed up front. They must sign off some method. So you price up front, you drive time down, you get write-ups all the time. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing is to get your team engaged. You must get them engaged in this process and get them believing. You must make a decision price up front. So much stems from price up front. It's like a ripple effect through the whole firm. You price up front, you have an hour's budget on the job. You set an hour's budget to say, okay, just because it used to take 25 hours last year, you say to your team, in a hypothetical world, how to do this in 5 hours. And they come up with some ideas. And let's say they hit 15. Well, they hit 15, you're 10 in front. That could be, if you've got charge rates, $2,000 to $3,000 right up. You drive the time down by asking a question to get people accountable to the time. You must monitor the time. You must monitor the time on hours to go on the jobs. Every job should have a price, sold to client, signed off. You'll always get the price wrong, so that you can deal with that in the pricing power and our value pricing tools. You have a price, hours budget, not a dollars budget, an hours budget that's set by the team, and you set that based on, it used to be 25, how do we do it in 5, come up with some ideas to reduce the time. On your whiteboards, you have name of client, you have hours budget, you have day by day, and hours to go every day. You have your client service coordinators, client service assistants, team support people, whatever you call them, keep this up to date. So you can track, based on your hours budget, how many hours to go. And our objective here, of course, is to get less hours, take the labour out of jobs, but still have quality control. There's a fine line. You must have efficiency things in place. Implement our 18-step workflow process will help you do this. It'll drive time down, take the labour out of the job to be more efficient. You must maximise this. You must avoid scope creep and scope seep in this process. What does that mean? Well, if you are monitoring the results of your team member on the job and you've got clear scope of what the job is and what it entails, then make sure that your team do not go and do more than they need to do the job. For example, you might be doing a compliance job, and the objective here is to lodge on time and accurate, etc., in a bound up file, but along the way, that's a lodging compliance job. Along the way, your team discover they can save $152,000 in tax. That's a separate project. It must be priced separately. It's not part of that one project. So you must avoid scope seep. And scope seep is where you just do more anyway. Scope creep is during the course of the project, your client asks you to do more at the same time. That's a separate project. Woo up. As an example, you might find that there's more work in this than you discovered. You stop work, you go back to client and say, as per our clause in our engagement letter, in our implementation plan, that that's not included. It's a separate engagement, or it's going to be a separate price altogether. You must manage this. But the concept's very simple. You price in arrears, you'll always get write-offs. You just will. You price in advance, you drive time down, following these hints and tips, you'll get write-ons. And you'll start to be positive about this. Get rid of that negative and brackets and celebrate the write-ons. The client signed off on it. Do not feel guilty, because some of you do. Do not feel guilty that you've got to write up. It's a good thing. It means the client's happy with the price. You've worked hard on efficiencies to drive time down. Many firms have write-offs because they've included training in write-offs. You know, that was training time. Take training time out if it's legitimate. The client shouldn't be paying for training time. Just take it out and put it in a separate bucket. But if that person during training is adding value to the client should pay for that. But this all goes away when you price up front. You should be looking to eliminate write-offs before you eliminate charge rates. Keep charge rates as a method of measurement, and eventually, once you're happy with price up front, get rid of charge rates, keep timesheets, go to $1 an hour. And of course, we want to eliminate the write-offs into write-ons before we go to $1 an hour. Because $1 an hour, you're going to have write-ups unless you're super inefficient. So our objective here is to eliminate the write-offs once and for all, stamp them out. The biggest firm I've ever done this with, I did it in 1 month, $23 million firm, $1.6 million in write-offs. annually, consistently. Not a big percentage, but a big number. In the very first month, it was July, start of their financial year, I committed the team, the partners, 14 partners, to send a letter out to their clients to say, we are pricing up front. I got that team, got the team engaged, and got the team to do hours budgets on jobs. We eliminated the write-offs in 1 month, the first month of July. Gone forever. Why? Because we changed the system and changed the culture. You can do the same thing. Talk to your coach if you need more information. Brainstorm with your team. What have you got to change to make this happen and make it happen permanently in your firm? Good luck.